Many Christians today have this idea that the church in the 16th century was just horrible. That basically everybody besides Luther was either stupid or ignorant or evil. And they often don't realize that this view of the world comes largely from Martin Luther himself, who is, by all appearances, from his own writings, something of a delusional narcissist. Now, look, that's a big claim, so let me back it up by even appealing to his allies. Even people like Thomas Cranmer, who would go on to lead the Church of England into schism from the Catholic Church. Cranmer responded upon reading Martin Luther's writings. Luther wantonly attacks and raves against the pontiff, that's the Pope. He accuses a whole council of madness. It is he who is insane. Oh, the arrogance of a most wicked man. And so it wasn't just that Luther thought that the Pope was the Antichrist, or that he lightly dismissed ecumenical councils. It's that throughout so many of his writings, we come away with this idea that he thinks everyone besides him is evil and wrong. Now, even Protestant scholars like Michael Parson and Eric Greech have acknowledged that Luther saw himself as the new Noah, the lone righteous man in an evil world come to save his followers. Now, you can see this clearly from Luther's commentary on Genesis, in which he compares himself to Noah directly. Commenting on Genesis 6, well, really, Luther creates kind of a fan fiction version of Genesis 6. He imagines a conversation in which Noah's neighbors rebuke him by saying, "Art thou alone wise? Dost thou alone please God? Are the rest of us all in error? Shall we all be damned? Thou alone dost not err? Thou alone shall not be condemned?" Now, that doesn't happen anywhere in Scripture, but Luther explains why he imagines the conversation. Because Catholics were making those arguments to him, asking Luther if he really believes that all the church fathers had been in error, including Augustine and Ambrose and the great Christians of old, and that only Luther himself is wise. But rather than saying, "Wow, you're right, that is a wild claim to make about all Christians throughout history," or something like that, the Noah of Luther's imagination responds to these questions by being convinced that this proves that all of those people and everyone else is damned, while only he and his people are going to be saved. Now, strikingly, Luther says in part that this is because Noah follows another doctrine and another worship. But remember, the contrast here is Luther's relationship to the church fathers. He thus appears to be conceding that he doesn't follow ancient Christian doctrine, and he doesn't follow ancient Christian worship, and he's perfectly comfortable with this. So if you're a Protestant and you believe that you're practicing the original, real form of Christianity, this should absolutely give you pause. The first Protestant reformer knows he's breaking away from the early Christian religion, and he's fine with that. After all, Luther reasons, one cannot conceive how difficult it is for one man to oppose himself alone to the unanimity of all churches, to impugn the judgment of the best and the most amicable of men, to condemn them, to teach, to live, and to do everything in opposition to them. This, he says, is what Noah did. But of course, the reference to the churches shows he's really talking about himself. He sees the Christian church for the 1500 years preceding him as if it were the same as the wicked and godless men of Noah's day, while Luther alone is the one man who needs to come into the world and to lead true Christians away from the church onto a new ark with new doctrines and a new worship. There are many reasons why this is disturbing.